Shalom, all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone that rule well and labor in this word and doctrine. Shalom to the elect, man, woman, and child, scattered across the whole four. And of course, honor to the brothers pushing this word in truth and sincerity. So we've got this word inauguration. Alright, so according to the Wikipedia definition, just the first few lines, it says, an inauguration is the process of swearing a person into office and thus making that person the incumbent. Such an inauguration commonly occurs through a formal ceremony or special event. And, oh man. A formal ceremony or special event. So let's get right into this. Inauguration. It says, inauguration, ceremonial investiture with office, act of solemnly or formally introducing or setting in motion anything of importance or dignity. 1560s from French inauguration, installation, consecration, and directly from late Latin inaugurationem. Nominative inauguratio, consecration, presumably originally installment under good omens. Noun of action from past participle, stem of inaugurare, take omens from the flight of birds. Consecrate or install when omens are favorable. From in, which means on or in. From piu-n, meaning in. Augurare, to act as an augur. Predict. So you go to this word augur now. 1540s from Latin augur, a religious official in ancient Rome who foretold events by observing and interpreting signs and omens, perhaps originally meaning an increase in crops enacted in ritual, in which case it probably is from Old Latin augos, increase. It says genitive auguris, increase, and it's related to augere, increase. To increase. So what will increase in this year time? An augur, again Wikipedia doctrine, but it has citations. So there you are. It says the augural ceremony and function of the augur was central to any major undertaking in Roman society, proving what that we're again in Roman society, public or private, including matters of war, commerce, and religion. Augurs sought the divine will regarding any proposed course of action which may affect Rome's pax fortuna and salus, peace, good fortune, and well-being. And that should remind you of also pax romana. I should have read the first part. I'll leave it there, read the first part. It says interpreting the will of the gods. Because then deal with pantheon. Theon meaning a god, and pan meaning all. Pan being one of their gods, which in the Roman was known as Faunus. You Pan-Africans out there. There was one thing I was trying to find on here. Maybe, yeah, it's this one. It's this. Right. The lituus. It means a curved augural staff. So a staff that an augur would have. Not an ogre, but an augur. It says the lituus was a crooked wand, and I know I'm butchering the pronunciation. Was a crooked wand similar in shape to the top part of some Western European croziers, which is interesting also. Where do you recognize that from? Huh? Look like Pope as well. Same augurs, man. Same ogres. Let's look at the word ogre real quick. Oh, ruined the lesson. You didn't see nothing, man. Ogre, man-eating giant of fairy tales and popular legends. And they do eat men. That's why it says, let's find that. So Babylon, Revelation 18 and 13, listing the things that Babylon used to have in commerce. It says in cinnamon and odors, and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil, and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Like that song, you're a man-eater. Augurs and ogres. What did I want to get? Oh yeah. While we're in Revelation, just quickly, a brief scriptural break. You have this 11 and 8. It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And this is dealing with Babylon. Babylon the Great, United States of America. Spiritually being called Egypt. Why? Because we're in bondage there. And Deuteronomy 28 tells you about going into Egypt again with ships. That's where we are today. Also, when Moses went back and forth and was sort of warring with the sorcerers or the augurs of Egypt, that's also something to bring out, that they have that same energy in terms of witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment. That's the power that Babylon the Great is under, a great power on the left hand side. And of course it's ordained of the Father. But here we have the Litulus was a crooked one, similar in shape to the top part of some Western European croziers. And going back into this, when it talks about the false prophet, that would be the Roman Catholic Church, which really all so-called Christianity as we understand it today really came out of in some which way or form. It says, used as a cult instrument in ancient Roman religion by augurs to mark out a ritual space in the sky. It says a templum. The passage of birds through this templum indicated divine favor or disfavor for a given undertaking. So you had actually, it was a common practice. Like people would actually, if we go into this, let's get the history and public role. So a person would take out a significant proportion of their life, or significant portion of their life, to fulfill this role. It was looked upon as a true thing in it. Like priests, you may have scientists in this seclorum. Scientists may be an equitable or good analogy to put upon them how much them trust. What, you don't trust the science? What, you don't trust the augurs? That's how it would be looked upon. So this is showing it's a religious-based system in disguise. It tells you in their ancient religion of being augurs. I want to touch on this word tempulum. It said a templum was the sacred space defined by an augur for ritual purposes. Most importantly, the taking of the auspices, a place cut off as as sacred. Compare Greek temenos from temnein, to cut. It could be created as temporary or permanent depending on the lawful purpose of the inauguration. Auspices and Senate meetings were unlawful unless held in a templum. If the Senate House was unavailable, an augur could apply the appropriate religious formulae to provide a lawful alternative. And they should realize how much Rome has conquered the earth, whether in this day and age under the guise of Mystery Babylon the Great, which is really, it gave life unto the beast. It caused the whole earth to worship the beast, and this is another reason how, through their inaugurations, even a Senate House. If we just search up Senate House, this is where we got from the Greeks. Where is that really where that beast system began? So they cut out for themselves a Senate House. First Maccabees 8 and 15. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a Senate House wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered. And Senate, like when you get the words senile or senator, that's a bit obvious. But there's quite senior. You might have senior or senior. All of it sort of goes back to the same idea of being an older male. Alright, so templum. So when we say our temple, it's still going back to the Latin word templum. So even when we're conveying Hebraic concept, we're still doing it in Latin, modern Latin, which is English, which is really an amalgamation of a lot of different languages, of Greek, of the Saxon, obviously Germanic roots and everything like that. But just to bring this out, temple says building for worship, edifice dedicated to the service of a deity or deities. Again, that would be their pantheon. An edifice, when you say something's edifying, like I would pray this lesson would be edifying, it means to build up. So we can all fitly, how does it say, fitly joined? I believe the terminology is in Ephesians 2, towards the last bit. Ephesians 4 even. Yeah, Ephesians 4 and 16. From whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. Edifying, meaning to build, as I just said. Right, so we've got the word temple. How long have we gone? We've got 10 minutes on it so far. Okay, might look back at Olga, because there was a further thing on here I did look up earlier. Look again. It says magistrates were empowered to conduct augury as required, or augury, I don't know which would be how you pronounce it, as required for the performance of their official duties. Magistrates, you might have a magistrate's court. Look at the word magistrate. See? Again, going back to Latin, going back to Rome. Their master, magister. So we're living in that same Rome again. If you can't see it, I don't know if it's say. Let's get Rev 13, one of we favorite. So Revelation 13, and we'll start at 1. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and that would go into both NATO and the EU upon that Roman system as it came to its fruition, because the same nations it sort of had pacts with all manner of different peoples, but some of the same, of the same kind, yeah, of the same genus, of the same gene. It says, and upon his 10 crowns and upon his heads the name of blasphemy, blasphemia, which means to make a disreputation or disrespect towards a the fullness and what's another word for reputation? Renown. Alright, it goes on, and then you see another beast. Obviously, if you don't know what this talk about, search GMS Revelation 13. It's all there. All you gotta do is dig. And it won't be there for long. So seek ye the Lord where he might be found. Seek Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, while he may be found. Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, which will be Rome, which will be in the verse 1, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So this is another way that America. Let me just get a water. Sorry. Salachia. I'm a bit under the weather. Just sort of randomly came upon me. Not an excuse, but just to give context to that. Let me gather myself. Alright. So, this second beast, which comes up out of the what? The earth. The first beast came up out of the what? The sea. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast of Rome before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And that would be an example of it. Inauguration, which you go back to an augurs. They don't tell you it's about their religion. You'll see it's about democracy and it's still about their ideology. You'll get that far. But they won't tell you that augurs used to be a religion. Or they used to have a office, magistrates, certain peoples of high, again that word renown, up there to carry out their religious services. They just tell you it was sort of all based on logic and thinking and heading forward, and starting from the Greeks, which had that a lot of ideas that Rome adopted and co-opted came from Greece, and we still find a lot of them ideas today. So when you have Juno Greek, that still rings true today. The Greek, the Hellenization, meaning the Greek culture being pushed and forced and indoctrinating people into that lifestyle and way of life, which is a lifestyle. Oh man, indoctrinating people into that lifestyle is still very pervasive in this culture, if you can call it a culture. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and that would go into his nuclear arms, even the waster to destroy. You've got enough places where it talks about them intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic. Yeah, that's right. It didn't sound right, but that's right. And then it goes on, and obviously the mark of the beast would be that word charagma. We've gone over it time after time after time again. And that would be the RFID microchip. And that's that last idol that they want you to bow to take before the end of his world. Or the end of the world, for Esau is the end of the world. And Second Ezra gives it all away. That's why I believe that you've got a lot of information saying it's fake. A lot of brothers coming out saying it's fake, or they don't agree with it anymore. But there's so much in here, man. Second Ezra 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now, I was just watching this, a great video, edifying video. Search up Second Ezra's 11 breakdown. Obviously GMS. I'm not sure the camp specifically or whereabouts, but it's very edifying. And the brothers went into this 12 feathered wings, speaking of the 12 Caesars. That's also where you get the word Kaiser and Tsar in Russia, I think that is. It goes into Caesar. And it goes on, and then so it is talking about Rome. The brothers broke it down, like, they lined stuff up, and it was like, wow. This is prophecy. This is what sets apart our book, our scripture, from all the other religions and ideologies. Let me try to find what I'm looking for. Look. It said, but this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression. And it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is going to Caesar Augustus, which also made me laugh. It made me chuckle. It wasn't brought out in the lesson specifically, but when you check Luke 2 and 1, it tells you about someone that bore rule over the whole earth. Luke 2 and 1, it said, and it came to pass in those days that they went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And I would check that video, man. Those brothers are very knowledgeable when it comes to this. I'm really just scratching the surface, or when it comes to this stuff, I'm just at parrot level, man. So Second Ezra's 11 and 40, it says, on the fourth came. No, in fact, Salakia. Alright, we'll get it from here. So Second Ezra's 11 and 37. And I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, so who's that eagle? Even as swift as an eagle flieth. Brothers always go there. And that would be, in its ultimate fulfillment, going into the USA, Babylon the Great. And who's that Lion of Judah? Okay, the lion against the eagle. The godly against the sinner. So the lion would be the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, Yahawashi HaMashiach. And the eagle is going into Rome. Of course, ancient Rome at this point. But there is, as the brothers were saying, there's crossovers to the point where the same things they do goes down exactly the same. And that's what sort of inspired me to look into Inauguration and give quite a just some context to that. Let me get some water. My fault. Yeah, them centurions in the background. Yes, sir. Alright, so Second Ezra's chapter 11, verse... Why let me just stop? That's suspicious. Might pull up on me. Anyway, Second Ezra's 11 and 38. Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? The end of the times, and who was known as the end of the world? Esau. Proving what the Esau again is linked up with the four beasts. This is it that remainest. And of course, when you go into Daniel, I'm not sure how long I'm trying to make this go on for, but I will just grab a quick few precepts, you know. The Quaniel, I've put there, Daniel. And this is something also we can look at. Where did it just go? There you are. Daniel 2 and 10. The Chaldeans, who are the Chaldeans? Look that up. I can't remember. I used to know how to say it in Hebrew. The Chaldeans, anyway, look that up. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, "There is not a man upon the earth that can shew the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asked such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean." And they were dealing heavily with magicians. All at some point they always dealt with a spiritual power on the left hand, all of these beasts. But the worst one of them all would have to be Babylon the Great, which comes out of the fourth beast, which is what I'm going to get. There's another one about, Lord willing, I'll put it in the comments, Lord willing. Okay, where are we? It might not even be in the second chapter, you know. Well, I'll pull this out though. Daniel 2:41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And that's going into all the division within that remnant or residue there, even going into Brexit, how they can't cleave unto one another. It says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And what does Hamashiach Yahawashi teach about a kingdom divided against itself? Will it stand? So Daniel 7. They're actually, what is it? Let me just check. Daniel 2. Okay, I'm dragging it out now, innit? Alright, Salakia. There was another point, but again, I'll just dash it in the comments. Lord willing. So Daniel 7. We've touched on the fourth beast. It says basically the same thing. Starting again from up here. So go Daniel 7:7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. The beast before it would be Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and then it goes into Rome. And Greece sort of joined up to some extent, but it's diverse from them. So it stamped the residue with the feet. That would go into it putting out all dominion and rule. Other than it, just like Yahawashi, when he comes back, he will put down all authority and dominion and power and rule. And that's what this is talking about. Well, verse 9. We'll just continue. Sorry. Daniel 7:8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. So there was, you see how there was 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And that would really go back to Hispania, which would make up Portugal and Spain today. Obviously, at certain times you had Castile, Aragon, and Portugal, Granada. You could go into that. But anyway, you also have the Louisiana Purchase, which was in the US, which would link it back to France, King Louis. And you also have the British Columbia, a whole manner of British. I can't really even think of off the top of my head. I can't really think, but obviously the British, the Spanish, the French, as we know them today, all started taking up America, and their power had to fall for then America to stand on its own feet. It said, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. again, that would link up to Revelation 13 if we still got that up. We can pull it up. Revelation 13 and 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." So that's his manner of speech, speaking great things. And then it says, "I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the ancients of days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire." And that proves again that this would be Esau's dominion, because Esau's the end of the world. When is Hamashiach coming back? Well, in this time. Did I read that? And the fourth came and overcome all the beasts that were past. We read about that, of course. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. And he's basically getting rebuked at this point. And it continues, "For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hath cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm." Reminds you of Psalm 55. He's broken the covenant of peace, put against his hands as such that be at peace with him. Paraphrasing. Let me try to pull that. Absolutely butchered that, Salachia. Alright. So Psalm 55 and 20, "He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." And the northern tribes know that even more in terms of their deceit. We all know it, but... Alright, so we touched that. There was... What are we on? Well, that's been nearly half an hour. Let me think, though. I want to get ancient Babylon. Let's try to find it. Well, yeah, that is that actually it. That's actually it. Hidden in plain sight. That's what you call that. Alright. So, this is talking about Babylon and Chaldee, daughter of the Chaldees at least. It says, Isaiah 47 and 10, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, None seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me." And that's Esau's energy, man. The same one as the king of Babylon in Isaiah the 14th chapter. Okay, where it says, Isaiah 14 and 13, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." Also 2 Thessalonians, "Whose working is after Satan." 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God." So that's his same energy. Alright, and you skip down to 7, it says, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." And that's how he's going to do it in Obadiah. That's how he'll be taken out of power. And that's going to be forever, man. Forever. Forever, ever, forever, ever. And you've also got this, Obadiah 1 and 21. And saviors shall come upon Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi's. Again, if the kingdom is being the Lord's now, it's the Lord's, that's the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Showing that Esau hasn't been done away with yet, but also showing at the time that Esau's done away with, when Esau, the judgment starts with Esau, that's when the kingdom's given to the Lord, proving that in that time, that's the end time. So that's another proof that Esau would have to be that fourth beast. We'll touch that in Isaiah 47, and then we'll close out. I only thought this would be 10 minutes. How can a man then consider his own way? A man's goings are of the Lord. So we'll go Isaiah 47 and 13, just hit the straight point. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Alright, so you've got this inauguration soon, and you think all your witchcraft and all this is going to save you? You must be mad. Let's just get that word again. Inauguration. And this is a page, Glossary of Ancient Roman Religion. That's where you find all about this, different things about inauguration. But here you have it. It says the word inauguration stems from the Latin augur, which refers to the rituals of ancient Roman priests seeking to interpret if it was the will of the gods for a public official to be deemed worthy to assume office. And this is what we've got coming up in a couple days, man. And who knows, all hell could break loose. Read 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16, and we might... Now, I don't want to drag this out. I really don't want to drag it out. But read them things, 2nd Ezra 15 and 17, when it talks about they will not regard their princes nor their kings. And that's on both sides. Whoever makes it, the other side are not going to be happy. Or however it goes down, someone's not going to be happy. Obviously, we should be happy. And it's not just because we're some weirdos that just... We're so... we've been brought so low on this side that we just can't stand seeing anyone else winning, or a bitterness sort of vibe. It's not that, man. It's just the fact that, well, in one way, it's gonna be sweet to see, you know, how it says in Sirach, he that liveth to see the downfall of his enemy. But the main thing is these prophecies all have to take place before the returning of Yahawashi Mashiach, and that is our salvation. So someone's got to lose, innit? So Esau, you've got to lose. No apologies, no contrition unto thee. It is what it is, innit? It is what it is, Israel. So I pray that was edifying. Double honors to the apostles and elders that rule well. Peace to the elect. Honor to the brothers pushing this word. And of course, not leastly, but lastly, all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. Shalom, family.